In this video, we will be taking a look at some of the most popular color profiles for the Canon M50, so you can identify which one will work best for your needs. I will also show you how you can install those profiles on your camera in a few simple steps. So be sure to watch to the end of this video and you will know everything you need to know about custom color profiles and how you can install them on your camera. Before we start to talk about the actual custom profiles, we need to ask the question that most people get to ask. Why not stick with the standard profiles that comes with the camera? To be honest, for many amateur photographers and videographers, the standard profile will suffice. It gives you a decent looking image with just enough saturation, contrast and sharpness. It is simple, it is convenient, and it doesn't cost you anything. Nor do you need to spend unnecessary time in post color grading your videos. So yeah, you might stick with the standard profile and not bother yourself with custom color profiles. With that said, the convenience also comes at a cost. Yup. With the standard color profile, it will be hard, maybe even impossible, to do some custom color grading. You can think of editing your footage afterwards with a standard color profile. It's like trying to change the ingredients of a meal after you have finished eating it. And like I said, without using a real C-log profile, that's not available unfortunately on the Canon M50 like it is on some of the Canon's more expensive cameras. Our best bet is to use flat custom color profiles, which are the closest thing to compare to a real C-log or log file. C just stands for Canon, so Canon log. S-log is Sony log, and so on, but that's for a different video. But apart from editing the footage, one of the major perks of using a custom color profile is the high video quality on offer. With the custom profiles, we can increase the dynamic range of the Canon M50, thereby improving the overall video quality. In case you're not familiar what I mean with more dynamic range, dynamic range refers to the spectrum of light and dark in an image. Essentially, it's the range from the widest white to the blackest black throughout your video. It is a way to preserve more details in areas that would otherwise be just white or black. More dynamic range. For proper color grading and proper video quality, you want as much dynamic range as possible in your footage. This will allow you to see wider range of shades and highlights. And this is how you get rich, vibrant footage. That's also why more expensive cameras will give a better video quality. They have higher native dynamic range. You get what you pay for. In profiles that do not have a high dynamic range, like the standard profile, you will see that when you expose properly for highlights, you will notice that your dark areas becomes completely black out. Just as when you expose properly for shadows, your highlights will be blown out and completely white. You would be left with a harsh, poor quality video. Now that I have explained what dynamic range is, let's identify 3 custom profiles. 3 of the most popular color profiles for the Canon M50 are Cinestyle, a variation of the neutral color profile, and some variation of log or C-log profile. We'll start with the neutral color profile. This is where people who load nothing on their Canon M50 will stay to capture most of their footage. In the neutral profile compared to the standard profile, the camera will knock down anything oversaturated, over contrast and over sharpened that you get from the standard. That is simplified the neutral profile. But with the neutral profile, you will be working with the camera's base level settings. With the neutral profile, the footage will become much softer as the sharpness and the contrast will be toned down. Compared to the standard profile, the neutral profile will allow you to capture more variations of light and dark footage. And this is thanks to its reduced effects on contrast and saturation. By the way, this increases the dynamic range on offer compared to the standard profile. Next, we have the custom color profile called Technicolor Cinestyle. This is a special and free color profile specifically designed for Canon cameras like Canon M50. Technicolor Cinestyle or just Cinestyle, is a color profile attempt to mimic the typical C-Log profiles that you will find in more expensive cameras. It offers a much flatter image than you would get from the standard color profiles. When using the Cinestyle color profile, you will notice that you will end up with more variations of shades and even more variations of your highlights, as it will bring you a wider dynamic range. This profile will pull as much information as it can from your footage to provide more details. I must say that Cinestyle tends to tone down the highlights a bit, but overall you get more color information with Cinestyle than you get with the neutral color profile. Finally, there is the C-Log color profiles. Now these profiles doesn't come free. It will cost you a few bucks, 20 to 30 depending on the profiles you choose, but they do a great job when it comes to increasing the dynamic range available in your Canon M50. With the C-Log profile, you get the rich variation of whites and darks, your shadows and your highlights in your footage. You are not likely to see any white clipping in your footage as well. Compared to Cinestyle, C-Log profiles offers a more natural range of tones and a really smooth gradation. Now I must mention that once you go into Cinestyle or the C-Log variations, you will need to spend time in post doing some color grading and some color corrections. I would say that's the cost of increasing your dynamic range. Straight off the camera, the footage from a Cinestyle or a C-Log variation will have a white or almost grayish tint to it. It will look very flat and might even be a little bit scary when you look at it if you're not used to it. It almost looks ruined, but don't worry, it's the way it should look with the extra dynamic range. That's also why it's called color correction and color grading. We actually need to bring colors back in post as well as sharpness and contrast. But back to the topic of color profiles and not color grading. Standard and neutral color profiles come preloaded on your Canon M50, but Cinestyle and C-Log variations of color profiles need to be installed on your camera using an external software and your computer. To do this, go to Google and search for Canon EOS Utility for your camera mark. So for the M50, that would be Canon M50 EOS Utility. It will be located on the Canon support page. And once on the support page, download the EOS Utility software to your computer. Once EOS Utility is fully installed on your computer, connect your camera with the appropriate cable and start up EOS Utility and your camera. Go to the camera settings first, then click on Register Picture Style File. This will open a file browser of your system where you can access the location of the color profiles you have downloaded and complete the installation. It is that simple. Although Cinestyle and C-Log variations are good color profiles, they are foreign profiles. They are not native to your Canon M50. And many times installing foreign profiles on your camera isn't the best option long term. For C-Log profiles in particular, it actually requires high native ISO settings. For a typical C-Log, native ISO 400, and for C-Log 3 variations of profiles, it will be native ISO of 800 for it to function properly and give you that extra dynamic range. For the Canon M50, this poses a problem because the Canon M50 isn't that great in handling high ISO values. It will add a lot of noise to your footage. So the trade up is you get more dynamic range, but the trade down is you get more noise to handle in post. And if you, like me, are using the free version of DaVinci Resolve, you don't even have noise reduction available. You need the studio version for that, and that costs a lot of money. Because of that, my recommendation would actually be to stick with the neutral profile, but with some tweaks to artificially enhance its dynamic range. And with that, we have come to the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions about the Canon's custom color profiles, just ask them in the comments below and I will answer them. I promise. Until next time.